Okay, let's take a look at the sweep object. Now, the sweep object requires 2 or 3 splines. The first spline, the contour spline, defines the cross section and is swept along the second spline, the path, to create the object. The optional third spline, or what they call the rail spline, can be used to modify the scale of the contour spline over the object's length. Alternatively, the function graphs can be used, which all pertinent rail spline functions can be adjusted. Okay, so what does all that mean? Okay, so let me grab one of my drawing tools. I'm going to grab the B-spline. I'm going to go into a top view here and just lay down some points. Maybe something like that, like this. Let's come back over here to the perspective view. And I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to grab my circle. So the spline that I drew is going to be the path. So let's just name that path. The circle is going to be the cross section. Let's just rename that. The last thing that we're going to need here is the actual sweep object generator. So what's going to happen here is we're going to take this cross-section object and we're going to sweep it along this path. So let's go ahead and take these and drag these into the sweep, a child of the sweep. And it's actually doing what it's supposed to. The only problem is this cross section is way too big. So if we come over here to the radius and dial that down a little bit, then you can see what we're getting here. So actually take that down to maybe 5. Okay. And we can render that out. Okay, so let's go ahead and choose the cross section again. Let's make this a little bit bigger. And we can see some of the options that we have now if we click on the sweep object and come up to the object tab. So we can control the end scale in here. And by the way, all these are animatable, like most properties in Cinema 4D. The end rotation, which you can't see very well, but you can see it's moving here. So end scale, end rotation, start growth. Okay. End growth. And again, this is animatable. We can also come down a little further to the details and control some of the parameters with the graphs. So you can see by clicking in here, and then we can also control or command click to get more points. We can control the scale and rotation at different points. So we can get something like that. And that's just not something you can do with these parameters up here. So you have a lot more flexibility and control down here. Now let's come back up here and take a look at our caps tab here. So we can do the cap, fillet, and fillet cap just like we did with the other objects. So if we get in a little closer, we can see that we are creating caps here. We turn caps to none. You can see we have just a hole here. Cap, fillet cap. And again, we can control the steps and the radius of that cap to get different effects. Again, we have the types, so we can get different options here as well. So you can play around with these. Okay, so the sweep is a very powerful object here in Cinema 4D. So let's take a look at a real world example of how you might use this. Let me just pop over here and let's just say that this is a room that we're working on. And we want to get a baseboard around the, around the base here at the bottom. So I've got the spline already set up. So what I'm going to do is come over here and grab let's go into the splines, a rectangle tool, or a rectangle object. And I'm going to make this 0 and 38 centimeters. And I'm going to grab the spline, or the sweep, I should say. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to put this underneath the sweep, and then I'll take the spline and put it underneath here. Let's go ahead and take and put a black object on there. And now if we render that, we can see that we have swept the rectangle around the spline here to get the baseboard. Okay, so that's just one of a zillion ways that you'll use the sweep object here in Cinema 4D. Very powerful, very easy to use, and something you will use on a regular basis.